What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quarter. I hope you're having an absolutely wonderful day. I've got a full day full of news, and we'll be going over even more over on my Rumble live stream at noon, which I'll leave linked in the description below. You can always watch it on replay if you can't catch it live. This particular story is a bizarre one. It's the documents that, well, everyone wants you to forget about. The letter left behind by the Nashville monster, the Nashville garbage, now taking a bizarre turn as even more information now comes out of handwritten notes on this individual's clothing and skin that nobody reported on. That is only finally coming out now. It's awfully curious just how much protection this individual is getting. Well, I suppose it's not curious if you're plugged in and enlightened by watching my videos, and I hope today will be the day I earn your subscription. There's a button down below. YouTube and really everywhere, it can be hard to find my videos, so I hope that I'll earn your subscription today. Parents' efforts to suppress the manifesto of that loser would be unprecedented if granted. Why on earth do the parents of those who lost their lives that day want this suppressed? The question is that immediately comes to mind for me is, how come they've seen it? I assume they've seen it. Otherwise, why would they be making some kind of an opinion on whether or not it should be suppressed or held behind? If it just said, have a great day, why would they want to suppress that? So I have a feeling that they've seen it. The efforts of parents and the national community members who stop the release of the manifesto, if successful, would be an unprecedented move that could have bigger implications going forward, an open government expert told the Post. Tennessee's victims' rights statute does not give individuals a carte blanche to veto other laws, such as the one that allows people the right to public records. This is Deborah Fisher, Executive Director of Tennessee Coalition for Open Government. There's nothing really to indicate that there would be this ability for those on the receiving end of crimes to veto the release of otherwise public records, and in this case, crime records. But for some reason, it seems to be being allowed. And we all know, by the way, once they release it, it's going to be so heavily redacted, we're not going to see anything. Fisher is not a party in the ongoing litigation over whether their writings, the criminals' writings previously described as a manifesto, should be released, but she was asked by an attorney involved to provide her input on the history of their rights, she said. In this case, the perpetrator isn't even around anymore, she went on, but if they had gone on trial, most of the likely writings would have been part of evidence in the case about motivation. I don't think in that situations, those on the receiving end of the crime could veto those being submitted in a public trial. And I don't think they can veto them from being released as evidence in a case that doesn't even go to trial because that person isn't around anymore. Added Fisher, who is the director of the John Seigenthaler Chair of Excellence in the First Amendment Studies. They do have legally defined rights as it pertains to criminal proceedings, their exposure to an alleged perpetrator, and privacy related to the other types of personal crimes. There are a lot of reasons to not think that there's ever any intention that there'd be an unspecified kind of veto of these people to be able to stop it. But for some reason, it keeps going on. And of course, we know, I imagine if you're one of these other targets, you might want to know that. Late in March, they said that police strongly believed that she had other targets. Well, we know this because of the writings that they did tell us about. We know this, that she had looked at other possible targets, but decided that the security was too tight. What were those targets? I don't think they ever really said. But now we're finding out just a few days ago that Hale had mysterious notes on clothing. That they had mysterious handwritten notes on their clothes, a knife inscribed with their chosen name of Aiden, and an anklet with the number 508407 etched into it. This we only know because it was in the autopsy report. This report comes 4 months now after the incident. It also revealed that the clothing was covered in handwritten words, drawings, and numbers. It's unclear what was written. Well, it is clear, they just haven't released it. I suspect it's pretty obvious what was written there because they could read it. The report also noted that Hale wore an orange plastic anklet with the mysterious inscription 508407. The autopsy was released as debate has now escalated over the decision to share the manifesto and other writings of this individual, which were recovered at the scene and at her parents' home. I mean, why is this even? It's so weird. This is even a thing, right? They're clearly trying to hide whatever's in there. And the frustrating part is when they do finally release it, it's going to be so far down the pipeline, no one's even going to notice. And it's probably going to be so heavily redacted that nobody's going to be able to know what the heck is even being said. Now, I think it's pretty clear that if this person had worn a red Make America Great Again hat, the writings would have been released that day. In particular, if they were, about minorities or some of that nature, anything to whip up the American people's racial divide. But in this case, a trans individual is being given unprecedented protection. I mean, there were little kids that didn't survive that day. I have no idea why parents would be rallying to protect it other than perhaps, well, first and foremost, in my opinion, they must have seen it, right? They must have seen it or been told what's in it. Otherwise, why would you even have an opinion on it? Second of all, perhaps it illuminates some bad behavior at that school. Maybe some of the teachers, maybe some of the, whatever the case may be, some sort of cover-up that happened. This is just speculation. I don't know for a fact, but I can't think of a single reason why you wouldn't want this out. Unless maybe, they're trying to protect the school from some sort of public shaming. There was some sort of cover-up that took part, and maybe something bad happened to this individual when they were at that school, and they don't want that coming out. Certainly possible. Something like that could happen and really screw somebody's life up and make them do crazy things later in life. That's the only reason I can think of, unless there's a reason you can let me know in the comment section down below that you can think of, that the parents of those affected by this would be so aggressively trying to stop the release. The report noted that, of course, Hale identified it as a trans male, but was listed as female officially. One final humiliation. The medical examiner determined that, of course, they were ventilated. Now, the other interesting thing is that the toxicological analysis found no detection of any kind of substances on them. Now, I don't know if that would indicate prescriptions or not. I think when they say no detection of booze or whatever, they're looking for, the hard stuff. They're not looking for something that there's been some rumblings around particular prescriptions. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. But what's interesting to me is like all these people, didn't survive that day. And their parents are the ones saying, boy, I don't know. We probably shouldn't release this. Also being reported that they had a childlike obsession with staying a child, college classmates say. Now, that could indicate, I'm just an armchair psychologist here, but sometimes when something bad happens to you when you're young, you get stunted and you stay in that particular, state. So again, that would also, if that were true, that would lend some level of, hey, what's going on here? Maybe something happened at the school that the parents are trying to cover up, or the parents took part in a cover up and they don't want to be exposed because it might name them. That's what I'm wondering, is that if these writings actually reveal other crimes that happened, and now the parents know about these and they're trying to cover it up. I don't know that, but it would track. You know, and why aren't they releasing these handwritten notes on the clothing? What relevance is the number to anybody? And why didn't they report on? Now, hey, maybe sometimes people just write things on their jeans or whatever like that. When I was in high school, that was a thing. Maybe it's not related to the actual incident, but this whole thing continues to get more bizarre to me. And what they're doing now is essentially waiting to memory hole, and it's working. Something very fishy about all of this, and I'll continue to report on it as long as I get some sort of updates. I hope you were informed by this video, and if you were, please do leave a like on it and subscribe down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.